Can you strike off a company with an overdrawn director's loan account when it's insolvent? The answer is you can, but it's generally speaking not to be recommended. The recommended procedure in that kind of instance would be liquidation, because there would be an asset on the balance sheet of the company in the form of the unpaid overdrawn director's loan account that the director owes to the company. But people undoubtedly will try and do it, and here's the reason why they are likely to come unstuck and why it is likely to look underhand and potentially bad. And the reason is this: in many instances, if a company is being struck off and their creditors unpaid, it is quite common for a creditor, let's leave aside the fact that you paid HMRC and the Section 455 tax, that the company doesn't have a liability to HMRC, it's to other creditors such as trade creditors, for instance. Let's assume those are the only creditors. What's likely to happen is the creditor is likely to come forward and object to the striking off. As part of the striking off procedure, it is mandatory, at the risk of a criminal offence if this is not done correctly. There are various procedures under the Companies Act 2006 that need to be complied with, and one of those procedures is that you serve notice on the creditors of the strike-off application. Now, when you do that in the way that you should, creditors on the whole, unsurprisingly, are unhappy usually about not getting paid, so therefore the starting point is going to be for the creditor to potentially object by issuing notice of objection to Companies House. Now, what's potentially likely to roll on from that is a situation where if the creditors, even if they're not aware of the fact that there's an overdrawn director's loan account, because, for example, the last accounts don't show it, let's put it like that for the sake of argument, then the blocking of the strike-off situation is going to cause time to run, and creditors are likely to be able to stop the strike-off procedure through the objection system for a period of 3, 6 or more months, at which point there will then be the requirement to file annual accounts. And what will then happen is, in all likelihood, the requirement to file the annual accounts will arise, and at that point, in those accounts, there will be disclosure of the overdrawn director's loan account, at which point the creditors may turn around and say, aha, now we know why the strike-off procedure has been attempted, and they will, depending on the extent, obviously, of the overdrawn director's loan account, particularly if it's extensive, they may consider it commercially in their interest to formally attempt to wind up the company by petitioning the court for what's known as compulsory liquidation. Now, there are many other permutations. It's impossible to go through every different type of scenario, but in principle, if you got an asset on the balance sheet, not only would it look bad if you try, in the form of an overdrawn director's loan account, not only would it look bad if you try and then use the strike-off procedure, because you would be essentially looking, it would look like you're looking to avoid the insolvency regime and the liquidation procedures, and so on. But it doesn't sit right, the fact that you, as director of a company, owe it a sum of money that's an asset on the company's balance sheet, and effectively you are essentially trying to walk away without that being transparently disclosed, and it could be considered what's known as a breach of duty. In the case of an insolvent company, a breach of duty, because you will not be able to write off the overdrawn director's loan account without being in a breach of duty, because the company's insolvent position will stop you from being able to do that, and will stop the members of the company, the shareholders, being able to ratify that breach. So, and there are many other different aspects associated with this as well, in the sense that if the company goes into liquidation and you essentially written off the overdrawn director's loan account just before striking it off, then basically there would be other issues in terms of transaction undervalue, breach of duty to what's known as misfeasance, and so on and so forth. So, whilst in theory it is possible, not to be recommended. Questions, queries, concerns, give us a shout. Winner Insolvency Inside Out.